So I just want to let everybody know that the last question I hold in my hand is the last question that we'll be able to do during this town hall debate tonight. But that you should be, feel free to stick around and ask questions of the candidates as they're leaving. Feel free to reach out to them later as the election comes up in November. But the final question that we do have for you all tonight, and this again is a general for all four of you, it's been well documented that in the United States and specifically Northeast Ohio, there's been a growing opioid crisis. So one of the questions we have is, how serious is the opioid crisis in Alliance, and what can you do to fix it?
Like everybody said here, a lot of people have this marijuana dispensary here in Alliance. Even though I'm against it, decision been made, and it will be a good revenue source for our city. With that being said, we need to make sure we earmark some of that money to go to our safety forces, to our EMTs, fire department and stuff, make sure everybody has the proper training they need, proper equipment they need to serve for the crime that might go up. A lot of people who starts on marijuana find themselves using it as a, not everybody, but some people use it as a gateway drug to get our drugs. If it is prescribed by a doctor, yes. Just like opioids, the painkillers are described as a doctor. Once it's prescribed, say their insurance stopped paying it or they can't afford it anymore, they go to the streets and find more. And that's where I think our problem comes when it does come to our lines.
In terms of that topic, I think I'm still on the fence. This is one thing I'll be honest with you about. I don't think I have enough information either way to sway me one way or another. I don't even think there's enough information out there that there's enough of these across the country, these dispensaries and stuff, to prove whether it's good or bad. I do agree with Dave. If we do something like that in Alliance, or one does open up, I know it's already been passed, but part of the money needs to go for rehab, safety services, something of that nature, because it is a huge problem. The one thing I do worry about, that a couple things is, one is that it's just like the pain pills. People are abusing them now. It turns into a bigger problem. Well, the medical marijuana could do the same thing. They're using it for the right thing, but what if they abuse it when they no longer need it? They're still on it. It just goes on and on like a gateway, like he's saying. Another thing that worries me is our local police going to be constantly babysitting these places and taking away from a serious emergency that we need, because who knows what might be going on out there. And obviously, like the DEA or somebody cannot, marijuana in general is still illegal federally. So it's not like we can have a federal agency, babysit it, for lack of better words, or, see what's going on. We're going to have to rely on our local police, and I think that's going to be a huge problem. But in the long run, I'm not against it, but I'm not really for it either right now. I think there needs to be more research done on that. Thank you.
Well, the question was about opioid problems. I'm not sure how the topic became about medical marijuana, but I'll give you my information on that. I moved here from Arizona 3 years ago. Arizona's had medical marijuana for at least 10 years. There was no increase in crime. We didn't have crazy weed heads running in the streets. It's a pharmaceutical industry. I know a lot of people involved in the industry, and it is very profitable and very controlled. We don't have police cruisers sitting in the dispensary parking lot waiting to bust people. In addition, there is evidence that in states that have medical marijuana, there's been as much as a 25% drop in opioid overdoses. So to me, that's a benefit. If we can find other ways to treat pain management other than giving them opioids, how can that do anything but improve our situation?
Well, I'll be honest, I'm not sure that I could make a huge impact in the opiate epidemic as a city council person. But what I do think I could do as a member of Alliance City Council to address the local opiate epidemic is to support the aggressive prosecution of heroin dealers and support the police department that is out there trying to find them. Because my dad ran for county prosecutor last year, and I was very, very much involved in his campaign. And overwhelmingly, the issue that was most important to people was heroin. What are we going to do about heroin? Why should we make you the prosecutor? What are you going to do about heroin? Tell us, give us your sales pitch as the prosecutor for that. And being with my dad on the campaign trail and hearing people talk about this and hearing him respond as a prospective prosecutor, I learned a lot about the issue. And I really believe, as was my dad's campaign pitch last year, we have to pursue the people that are dealing this poison. Because until it is no longer acceptable or no longer possible to find a heroin dealer, you're not going to be using heroin. So I think we have to absolutely support the aggressive prosecution of heroin dealers, of people that are abusing prescription pain pills. And in conjunction with that, I think we also need to support the social services that are trying to rehabilitate people. Because when somebody is asking for help and they are making that leap, we should do everything we can to support them. And as a city, I don't know that we have any money that is specifically directed towards that, but I know that in terms of development, we can do a lot to encourage those kinds of entities to come to Alliance. Alliance Community Hospital just recently signed some kind of agreement or lease with a social services agency that will provide beds and rehabilitation and treatment for people who are dealing with that kind of addiction. And as long as we can support those social services and support the aggressive prosecution and allow our cops to go out there and do the buys and find the dealers and throw them in jail, I think that's our best bet as a city to deal with this epidemic.
Thank you for your answers on this difficult topic.
Thank you all again for being here tonight, and a big thank you to the students and Dr. Kumler for putting in their volunteer time to come up with the questions and do the research. It was very impressive that they were able to come up with all of that pretty quickly. So at this time we will conclude our formal programming, but please stay around. I know we didn't get to all of your questions, so feel free to talk to any of the candidates who are here and enjoy the refreshments. And thank you again for coming.